Big news! The new Sprint LTE Plus network is faster than Verizon and AT&T based on analysis of a recent study by Nielsen. And to celebrate, we're inviting you to join Sprint for the biggest offer in U.S. wireless history. Switch to Sprint and save 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile rates. Yep, you heard that right. No gimmicks, no tricks. You have Verizon 6 gigs for $60, $30 with Sprint. And if you have 15 gigs for $100 from AT&T, $50 with Sprint. Even if you have T-Mobile's 10 gigs for $80, we'll give it to you for $40. And we won't force you to watch video in low def. Oh, and one more thing. We'll even pay your switching fees up to $650 per line so you can switch to the Sprint LTE Plus network today. Visit a Sprint store or sprint.com/save 50%.
Offer coverage not available everywhere for discounted phones. Excludes taxes, surcharges, roaming, and premium content. Subject to new line $36 activation fee. Credit valid 4 day plans may not be exact match. See website for eligible plans. Offer ends 1/7/16. Savings through 1/8/18. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Contract valid via reward card requires online registration.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliate stations coast to coast present
Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue.
The 0-2, swing and a miss, strike 3, blew it past it.
Discussing baseball, good drinks, and food.
And you got your honey mustard?
I love mustard.
With Ted Hicks, Todd Vandenberg, and Lee Vowell.
Well, big deal. I am very professional.
Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on the Happy Hour Network.
So Blog Talk Radio decided to help us out today by having some technical difficulties. So we now join our scheduled show just a minute in, but without the mostly technical glitches that are part of the show. So enjoy the technical glitches, but mostly an excellent show with our wonderful guest, Chris Wassel.
as we are apt to do, a couple of times a year. We turn Baseball Beer BBQ into hockey hops and hot dogs, so it'll be fun. Anyway, Chris is host of Fantasy Hockey X and writes for Dobber Hockey, Project Roto, and more. So now that you know my name, Lee, and you know Ted, because we were talking to each other just before we played the intro. Ted, how are you this morning?
Doing well. Feels like evening a little bit, but New York, early in the morning, nothing better. Nothing more than I would want to do than be on this show talking with Chris Wassel, probably my favorite hockey insider. But along with that, there's some people we need to thank, our media partners. I used to say radio partners, but I'll say media because they do more than just radio. It's more than just internet radio, social media. So our media partners we want to thank, good friends at I-95 Sports Network, Back Sports Page, RS Sports, Arena Sports Network. I would be remiss if I forgot our friends NGSC Sports that powers us on the iHeartRadio app. Our good friends XRP Radio in the UK. Tiz Shearer, what's going on? As always, we want to thank you for playing our show on XRP. Along with that, you can catch us on iTunes. And there's a very special site, CJ Computer Services, in NC, that retweets us, that shows us love. And I would love to, you know what we have to do one week? We have to record Todd when he goes, friends. Do you have a problem with the computer?
I did think about it. I actually thought about it from last week, and we put it on today, but then I was like, it's a good thing I didn't, because there's many issues. For instance, Blog Talk has been trying to mute you, Ted, for about 3 minutes. So if at some
Me
point,
or you?
You. And actually, I didn't even know I was here when the show started. So hopefully we will get through this, and it will be a lovely experience for our millions of listeners out there. And we'll get through it. Billions
of listeners.
That's true. Neptune, we're huge in Neptune, on Neptune, somewhere in Neptune. Neptunia, Neptune.
And Lovetron.
So let's get straight into baseball talk, because we're going to be talking a whole bunch of other things besides just baseball today. Obviously, we're going to talk hockey later, and we're going to talk some more general things in just a few minutes. It was awards season this week, And, all the big awards were announced, and let's just start with Rookie of the Year. Any surprise that Chris Bryant of the Cubs won, and what do you think about Carlos Correa of the Astros winning?
Well, I think hands down, Noah Syndergaard should have won, without a doubt. Nah, I'm just joking.
He finished 7th. Not too bad.
Chris Bryant. Nah, definitely. I between Bryant and Correa of the rookie of the years, to me, no brainer. It's a great choice. Two great up and coming organizations that we're going to see for the next few years because of the amount of stars that they have and young talent that they have. No issues with either one. To me, Chris Bryant's star is going to shine brightest in this league in the upcoming years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, both these guys, just, as Todd wrote this week for the three-point conversion, just think, obviously Bryant is a third baseman, but just think how great it's for the next 15 years just, on the left-hand side of the infield, because we've got really good young third basemen like Manny Machado of the Orioles, who still, it seems like he's been playing for a million years, but, still a really, really young guy in his early mid-20s. Then we've got Chris Bryant, of course, and then the shortstops just in the American League, 1 and 2, were number 1 and 2 in the Rookie of the Year voting. We had Correa of the Astros and Lindor of the Indians, and it's going to be fun to watch those guys. I'm not sure Lindor will ever be the hitter. He's going to be a good hitter, but Correa is he's ridiculous as far as a hitter, even though he's a very good fielder as well. Just as hitting alone is going to be crazy. So, moving on to managers of the year, Joe Bannister of the Houston, Texas Rangers won in the American League, and Joe Madden, of course, won in the National League. Any surprises with you for those? Bannister could have been Hirsch of the Astros who won it, but no, it was Bannister of the Rangers. Any argument there?
No argument. As much as I want to seem like the homer every week, and the homer that I really am, and I was sitting with the folks in the mailroom this week, and we were talking about how TC is going to take it. Without a doubt, Joe Madden came in there, and the effective change with the Cubs, with their young lineup, and Bannister with the Rangers. I think I've said it to you personally. If you look at it, the Rangers are in the mix every year, and they could be no matter how one season they can be horrible, but they're always in it, consistently. So I think good picks for manager of the year. No issues with it.
So you really thought Collins would win? You said you were talking to the guys in the mill. Oh, okay. Were they saying?
Yeah. They said it would be nice for Terry to win, and I said, not in the year Joe Madden. This is the guy who's won it 3 times. And if you just look at the records, come on. 100-plus games. Even though, the Mets really, their pitching really made the young hitters look bad in the playoffs in the NLCS, but without, hands down, Joe Madden. That was one of the reasons why I was in the mailroom last year when Madden was available. I said, maybe they need to go get this guy with all the young talent the Mets had. But I quickly got shot down because, the type of money Madden would require and, overall control of the team.
So, I got to ask you, so in the mailroom, is it like old school mailroom where they have the tubes and they put the stuff in the tubes and it shoots it up to wherever it's supposed to go? Does that still exist? Does that even exist? Or is it all electronic? Is there even any mail? Is it just the tech guys? You call it the mailroom, but it's really just a bunch of tech guys sitting down there. It's
a little bit of both. You got some retro stuff, but it's usually where I go and I just go down probably 2 to 3 times a week, and we just talk MLB. I go down there, and there's a Pirates fan, and there's a Yankees fan. And, of course, I'm the Mets homer, and we just go down and we talk MLB head to toe. And I'm telling on myself because there's times I'm down there 30, 45 minutes talking with the guys, and we're just running through, how the season is going and our thoughts and trades. And it really helps me for this show. It's because you got to be really on point down there. But it's good stuff. So we're going to talk Cy Young and really talk about the trifecta.
We are. We're going to talk Cy Young, but now I've got this image in my mind because you go down to the mailroom. So do they call you Shakespeare because you're like going down to visit the groundlings? Is that what it is? That you're in your perch on the 74th floor or wherever you are, and they're going down and discussing with the commoners. That's good. Is that how it works? Is that what they think? How do you get a job? How do you get a job in the mailroom? That's what I want to know.
I think one guy's worked there like 25 years. So I really wouldn't even know how you would get a job in the mailroom because he has to die first for a position to open up.
I've heard that before, actually. I know you're joking. I'm not sure, but I've heard people that happen. Anyway, getting back on point, I guess. So with the Cy Young Award winners this week, of course, were Dallas Keuchel of the Astros. So the Astros won Rookie of the Year and Cy Young. And before the MVP awards were announced, the first 3, of course, were Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, and Cy Young. And the Cubs swept the first 3. So Jake Arrieta of the Cubs won the Cy Young. It could have gone either way. Todd wrote in his article, and we've talked about on the show just about Dallas Keuchel of the Astros winning it. Did he deserve it? I mean, you could make the argument, yes, he deserved it. You could also make he didn't deserve it. He deserved it, and David Price should have won it possibly because Keuchel's Arrieta, 0.75 in the second half, lowest ever. So you can't argue with that. But as far as the whole season, Greinke's numbers, except for strikeouts, really are better WHIP, better ERA. He didn't have as many wins, but he was 19-3. So if he had been on a team that had scored some runs for him, especially in the first half, we're talking probably 25 wins at this point.
Hey, Lee, you're breaking up.
Which part did you hear?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, that's awesome. So again, I'll restate. So both of these guys, Dallas Keuchel of the Astros and Jake Arrieta of the National League, Chicago Cubs obviously won the Cy Young Awards for their respective leagues this year. You could make an argument either way that Dallas Keuchel shouldn't have won it in the American League because of his 3.77 ERA on the road, and David Price had more good numbers overall, home and away. And then Arrieta in the National League, 0.75 ERA in the second half, best ever, but again, Zach Greinke's numbers throughout the whole season still better even than Arrieta's except for wins. And we're talking about Greinke probably winning 25 games if the Dodgers had scored 2 runs for him in the first half in several occasions. So if you had a vote for Cy Young, whom would you have voted for?
Matt Harvey. And
in the American League, I guess it would be Syndergaard. That would be yeah.
And in the American League, it would have been DeGrom.
DeGrom, okay.
No, either way you go, would Price have gotten my vote in the AL? Probably. Would Greinke have gotten my vote in the NL? Probably, but Arrieta came on like a house of fire.
He did.
So
But I mean, it wasn't. Greinke still had really good second half numbers. But I mean, you know, like you said, you can't really argue with Arrieta because of what he accomplished and got his team. Really, without Lester having a good season, Arrieta really got his team to be in the position where they were going to make the playoffs. So even though they had a great record, they still were in that division where it was, you know, tough.
Without a doubt, the best division in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. So, moving on to the most valuable player in the league, of course.
Lee, I can't hear you, Lee.
For the youngest player to ever be named MVP, he won. Hopefully, you're still there. Anyway,
I'm here. I'm here, but I couldn't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you much better now.
Okay. I want to apologize to all our listeners out there. Now, actually, our media friends, I'm not sure what's going on with Blog Talk Radio this morning, but it sucks. It sucks this morning. So, Blog Talk Radio, if you're listening, you absolutely suck this morning. It's not us. It's not our equipment. It's not our connection. It is Blog Talk Radio because it has been trying to, again, mute Ted for about 15 minutes now, so hopefully when our guest, Chris Wassel, appears at 10:30, we won't have an issue with that. So Blog Talk Radio, if you're listening, get your ass together and help us out here. So anyway, the MVPs, Bryce Harper won of the Washington Nationals, won in the National League. The first youngest player to be unanimously voted the MVP. And Josh Donaldson won it for the Blue Jays over Mike Trout. Mike Trout finishes second for the fourth straight year. And any argument there, Ted?
NL, wait, weren't we talking about Yoenis Cespedes as the NL MVP candidate? I mean, come on. People, as we said a couple of months ago, when you started this crazy talk, Bryce Harper, hands down, best player in the ML, in the NL, and Donaldson just smacked the ball all over the place. I can't even believe this guy played for the A's. What was it, like a year ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah, this was his first year with the Blue Jays. They had him, the A's had this guy under contract, really club-friendly contract, and decided to trade him to the Blue Jays. So he wasn't even a free agent.
Right. Unbelievable.
Traded.
Hey, Lee?
Yeah, because he was again. Hopefully you can still hear me. So maybe it's Ted's connection. I'll just pretend out there our millions of listeners can actually hear me. Anyway, so Josh Donaldson, he was a very productive player with the A's. His WAR last year with the A's was over 6. I mean, the guy is extremely productive, has been productive. Mike Trout, again, finished second for the fourth straight year. Ted, hopefully you can hear me. Mike Trout, will he ever win an MVP, or is he going to finish second forever for the next 20 years of his life?
This guy is Major League Baseball. What are you talking about? He's going to be – come on. He's going to be great. This guy is Major –
hasn't just given him an award.
Treat him like LeBron James.
Yeah, except Trout hasn't won yet. I mean, I that you're kind of half joking, but it's almost true because at some point this guy's probably going to win 2 or 3 MVPs in a row, just like Kershaw, really.
Yes.
And then there's going to be backlash, and he's not. He's not going. He's going to finish second again for like 10 straight. But he deserved to win it this year. Donaldson should have won it.
Donaldson should have won it. Like I said, a remarkable season. The fact that he was on Billy Bean's payroll and speaks very highly of, and I want to make sure I get his last name correct, Anthopoulos, Alex, who's no longer with the Blue Jays. I mean, everyone was beating Alex in the head about, giving away all the prospects. And here you go, Donaldson is not a spring chicken. I think he's like 29 or 30, but this guy's going to be in the league for quite a while.
Yeah, and he's with the perfect team. I mean, he's got good hitters surrounding him. He is an excellent. His defensive third base is. I don't know if it's underrated because I think people who appreciate baseball know this guy is an excellent fielder, but he wins you games. He doesn't play center field like Mike Trout, but he still plays the hot corner, still plays third base, plays it extremely well, and he wins you games with his glove and with his bat. So, I mean, it's great to see. Same thing with Harper, really. Defensively, offensively, of course, his offensive numbers this year were off the charts. Rightfully won the MVP, even though his team didn't make the playoffs. He did everything he possibly could. So let's move on to a few other things, hot stove, before we're joined by Chris Wassel at the bottom of the hour to talk NHL. David Ortiz announced this week that he will be retiring after this season. He will be 40 this year. After this season, he will no longer be a player. Hopefully, if he has a good season, decides to come back, I'm still, who am I? But it's that David Ortiz, in your mind,
David Ortiz is a Hall of Famer. Yes. I know there's a lot of talk about who did what with those, early 2000 Red Sox teams. He was on death's, I guess, death's doorstop at one point in his career. Then he became Superman, and I mean, regardless, he's got 3 World Series victories, rings. He's, they destroyed the curse. Give this guy a spot out there. He's deserving of it. And also, the Yankees should honor this guy later this season. I mean, next summer. They should honor him. He's deserving of it.
Do you think every team should, or just because our team should honor this guy, especially intra-division teams, or just the Yankees because of that rivalry?
I think just the Yankees because of that rivalry, because of what he's meant to that rivalry. Now, as for the Mets or the LA Dodgers honoring this guy or something like that, I don't know about all of that. But for what he's meant to the overall rivalry between the teams, yes, I believe they should do something for him.
He should not be a Hall of Famer. Some of the ones who are saying he should not be a Hall of Famer are because he's a DH. He doesn't play a defensive position. He's never going to, obviously, at this point. And his numbers versus, say, the Mariners' Edgar Martinez, Edgar has better numbers, regular season numbers, except for slugging. Every other number, WAR, he's so far ahead of Ortiz, it's not even funny. But just as far as batting average, on-base percentage, basically everything, raw numbers, except for RBI, because he's a different player. But, I mean, just as far as the numbers, the sabermetric numbers, much, much better than Ortiz. But Edgar is not in the Hall of Fame, and he's not close to the Hall of Fame. The other thing against Ortiz is, even though he's been adamant about the fact that he shouldn't have tested positive, in 2003 there was that report, or there was some drug testing, and a report came out that Ortiz was one of the 4 players in that report that had failed a drug test. So, there's that stigma to it as well, whether, because, we're looking at players like Bagwell, we're looking at players like Piazza who never tested positive for anything. And Piazza, as far as I know, he was always the same size. I mean, he gained a little bit of weight, but basically the same size. He should be in the Hall of Fame, and hopefully he'll get in this year because it's a thin class. But, Ortiz has that stigma, so why should Ortiz be voted into the Hall of Fame where Bagwell and Piazza aren't, right? I'm assuming Ted can hear me. I'm not sure. So I'll just keep talking. Anyway, I'd like to see Edgar Martinez make it into the Hall of Fame, even if Ortiz does make it, Edgar should also be in the Hall of Fame. Jose Fernandez of the Marlins, Ted, they're looking at possibly trading him. There's been 5 different teams that could be suitors for this guy. Why would the Marlins trade Jose Fernandez?
Because the Marlins are the Marlins. And it seems like that's what they do every few years. They make a kind of type of boneheaded type move. They have no reason to want to trade this guy. I'm just dumbfounded right now.
Yeah, the ESPN actually has an article. Should he be traded? And this is in the no column. He's good. He's under team control for 3 more years. The Marlins may not be able to extract fair value since he hasn't pitched a full season since 2013. They'll only further alienate their fan base, all 3 people who show up to the games. You'll tick off Stanton, and remember how the Miguel Cabrera trade worked out. In the yes column, you can't guarantee his health. Besides his Tommy John surgery, he missed time in 2015 with strained biceps. He's only under team control for 3 more years. Still 3 years. 3 years. That's a long time. I don't think that's
3 years.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
I got to jump in, Lee. Matt Harvey is under contract for the Mets for another 3 years. 3 years is a long time.
Yes, it is, especially for a pitcher. So yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that's a valid point for this article for ESPN. The rest of it's good, but that's not really a valid article or a valid point. His agent is Scott Boras, so there's no way he signs an extension before free agency. Why would you with the Marlins anyway? The Marlins need depth and could get a lot for him, and maybe he's a pain in the butt. But even if he's a pain in the butt, I mean, the guy works for you, right? So, it's one of those things where, because of the 3 years, because having him under contract for 3 years, and the fact that maybe he's been injured, but a lot of players have been injured early in their career and actually gone on to have productive careers. Cliff Lee wasn't the healthiest guy in the world early in his career, bounced back, and except for really late in his career where a lot of pitchers break down, he had about 10 years where he was extremely good. And Fernandez has the stuff already, so maybe the guy's a pain in the butt, but hey, you live with it. I mean, who shows up to watch the Marlins besides Stanton, right? I mean, that's some other young guys, but Stanton's he's the home run hitter, and then they show up when Jose Fernandez is pitching, kind of like they do in Seattle when King Felix is on the mound. You should show up. So losing Jose Fernandez, I don't see how there's any way a team would risk. Hey, this guy has been injured. I'm not. But the team's got to know, man, if I get this guy, that's my number 1, or if I have a really great pitcher already, a number 2, and that's pretty good 1 and 2 if he's your second. And Todd Frazier of the Reds, of course, another very good player. Of course, he's not young necessarily. He's 30, about to be 30. But Todd Frazier would be a great Met, right, Ted?
Oh, he'd be a great Met. And a lot of talk about shifting, maybe right to first base. Frazier is a great third baseman. Trading Duda for either bullpen help or a center fielder. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because this guy in 2015, he smacked 35 home runs. I can, without a doubt, expect to see Sandy influx this off season. But as you know, with any type of Alderson type team, he's going to make the right decision. He's going to make the right decision and the most cost-effective decision. As you know, Cespedes is not coming back. This guy's looking for the big payday, and you got to plug some holes. And what does that leave out there? That leaves Duda out there. I mean, Duda can knock the cover off the ball, but I don't know. It's you got to look at where your holes are, and the Mets have a couple of holes that they have to fix. So I like the Todd Frazier discussion or talk, or let's see it come into fruition.
So, last year saw 2 guys sign before Thanksgiving, and we haven't really seen that this year. Is it because this class is so great, or so deep at least, especially as far as starting pitching goes, that players are just waiting to see who makes that first move and how much they get?
You like to think it's the LeBron effect, but who is your LeBron James? Would you say that's David Price?
Yeah, that's a good question. That is good because Zach Greinke is out there as well.
Right.
Even Sorry,
you
go
got
ahead.
these great pitchers. No, you got these great pitchers out here, these great players that are going to command $100+ million with 5 and 6 year agreements. Then everything else kind of shakes in after that point.
Yeah, and then I don't want to equate Jason Hayward to LeBron James, but the guy's 26, so in a way, his age makes him, more valid than anybody else, because when you get this guy, he's going to be your guy for 10 years, probably,
Yes.
and at 36, he could still be defensively, he should still be good. And if he's not going to be a great big home run hitter, but he's going to get on base, he should be able to do the same things at that point that he does, right now. But actually, at this point, we now welcome Chris Wassel to the show. Chris hosts Fantasy Hockey X and writes for Dauber Hockey, Project Roto, and more. Chris, first of all, we are having major issues with BTR this morning, so I apologize. Hopefully this will go smoothly. But thanks again for being on. You're always a great guest. So how are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Now, obviously, major issues in Blog Talk Radio. I may have heard this before many times, so I do understand.
Awesome. Well, I'm trying to mute it for 30 minutes, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, let's get straight into it. Let's start with the NHL announcement that the All-Star Game will be 3 20-minute games of 3-on-3. What's your reaction to this?
I hope these players have oxygen tanks at the ready, because look, if you've seen the 3-on-3, any player crazy enough to be double shifted like Erik Karlsson did last week, you get gassed quickly. I watched him by the end of about, I would say, maybe a 90-second shift, just gliding to the bench, which did almost result in a goal against. But look, it's going to be fun. I mean, you're going to see you're going to see scores that you've never seen in an All-Star game before. I get why they're doing it. But again, like I said, just have oxygen tanks ready, lots of Gatorade, and make sure Brandon Dubinsky is not manning the Gatorade bucket. And that, you're good.
It's funny you mentioned you're going to see scores you haven't seen. It's not like the All-Star game is. I mean, are we talking like 25-20?
I mean, that's the thing. It's very possible with this format. I wouldn't be shocked. You look at the rate of goals per 5 minutes, just with the 3-on-3s. Shoot, you could definitely see. You could see 20-18. You could see 18-15. I mean, we've seen in the 90s mostly. So. We've had a few crooked numbers the last few years as they've tinkered and tinkered and tinkered and tinkered and maybe tinkered some more with the format. But, hey, at the very least, you're going to see lots of good old-fashioned pond hockey scoring chances. So we'll have that.
That's an excellent point. And at least they approach it like it's an exhibition game and should be fun, unlike Major League Baseball. So, there has been an ongoing discussion about scoring being down. It's in decline, and it's down 0.8 of a goal per game since the first post-lockout season. Still, attendance has increased for the most part over the last 10 years. So there's only been a couple years where it's down. Do you think low-scoring games ever will affect attendance, or is it more just, fans care about quality of play?
Yeah, it's a fun balance, and it's a great question, to be honest. Because I mean, at one point we were down, I think at about the 13 or 14 game mark. It was about 4.9. It was a little bit right around 4.95 or so. And the question got posed, but you looked, shots are up, scoring chances are slightly up. What gives? So of course, naturally, everybody targets the goaltender. That's not the reason. Players just can't frickin' shoot anymore. I mean, the shot selection in the league is horrendous. If Bobby Fardham has as many goals as Sidney Crosby, some of that has to be on the player at some point here. It's not just it's just not great goaltending here. I mean, there is some awful goaltending to be had in the NHL. I'm looking at Square at Edmonton as an example, aside from last night, but maybe Tuukka Rask too. But to get scoring up is not the end of the world. Fans will come. People have to understand it's also early in the season. You're going to see low attendance numbers. The Islanders never draw before January 1st. They just don't. It's been that way since they've been bored. I mean, Carolina never draws before December 1st. Why? College football. I mean, you could go down the line. And yes, there are excuses to this, and I understand that. But it's not something out of the norm. We've seen this before. It's not because of a lack of goal scorer. There are chances all over the place. The 3-on-3 is insanely entertaining. Just send a letter to Uncle Gary and ask him why he keeps tinkering with the league. There's your attendance problems, right? Partially right there.
Gotcha. Hey, Chris, it's a pleasure with you being on the show, also being a fellow tri-state person. Welcome. Thank you for addressing the Islander and some of the attendance issue. But you mentioned a specific person. So what's going on with Sidney Crosby? He doesn't seem to be like the same player.
You know, it's funny. We joke about this. You know, a lot of press people and a lot of fans go, well, what happens when these players get to a certain age that have played a ton of hockey? And though there's not any one significant advanced stat that just proves it, there's a few out there. I highly recommend Micah Curdy's work on Twitter. He goes by the Twitter handle Ineffective Math. He has an actual curve that shows the player decline as you reach a certain age. Basically, once you get to age 29, your prime is shot, and your numbers gradually start going down, aside from a few spikes. Some players are different. Sidney Crosby is one of them. You have to ask the question at some point, with Sidney Crosby's mandatory choice of having certain players play with him, if it's actually hurting him career-wise, because this year it's clear it is. You have one little streak where you had 6 points in 5 games, but this also has to somewhat do with coaching. It is weird that since Mike Johnston's been brought aboard, in about 102 games, guys, Sidney Crosby is pointless in 46 of them. Think about that for a second. That's almost half. He's not even close to that with any other coach that he has had in his tenure. Heilsman, the rate was much less. Now, Jacques Martin doesn't have much of an influence, but anytime you hear the words Jacques Martin and offense in the same sentence, I usually typically hide my head under the pillows like any Peanuts character. So it's not good right now if you're a Sidney Crosby owner, but it's not hopeless either. I mean, look, the power play was abysmal early in the season. It's going to get better at least. I can't see it being even at 14, 15% as it is now. It's probably going to get closer to 20. You figure some of those goals are going to come Sidney Crosby's way. But to suggest and say that Sidney Crosby's 100-point seasons may be done in the NHL isn't far off, guys. It's a scary and sobering thought, but true.
Yeah.
So Chris, tell me, what are your thoughts on the changes to the overtime format? I mean, fewer points are being awarded for overtime unless you are in Vancouver.
Vancouver does to get out this year. And God, if you get the Rangers at a 3-on-3, just sign up for the shootout instantly. But for some teams, it's been unbelievable. I mean, look, the Devils have 5 wins in overtime. I mean, this is a team that couldn't win the shootout. Granted, they have 2 shootout wins and I think 3 overtime wins this year. For the most part, this has worked awesome. This has worked exactly the way the NHL didn't intend for it, but yet did. The action is unbelievably fun. The fans are into it much more than the shootout, which I'm sure the NHL wasn't, that wasn't their plan. All right, maybe it was. They got one right, and you have to give them due credit for this at least. I sit there and I watch a 3-on-3, and I'll see it on Twitter. People, even press are like 3-on-3 Twitter alert, and literally you have to compel yourself to watch this because you never know what's going to happen. And if that gets more and more people into the sport, it's fine by me.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's really what it comes down to, just get people back in and into the sport as it is. We talked about the NHL not being shy about making changes. Next year, it looks like there will be, and this may be a done deal. I haven't seen the latest, but it looks like there will be a 5-day bye week for each team between the January 1st and February 28th. What are your thoughts on this?
I get why. It is funny though that you look and you just go, well, don't they have bye weeks already in some senses? I mean, I don't know. Early in the season, it seems like there's always a ton of days off. You get a couple days off for Thanksgiving. You get a couple days off for Christmas. These guys aren't tired. If it's being incorporated into the schedule as is and doesn't change the ending date of the regular season, that's not so bad. But something tells me that the regular season is ending 5 days later next year. Don't quote me on that just yet. But with the NHL, it wouldn't shock me. It's going to create an interesting scenario. I think the best example of this that I can see is the fact that you just have faulty NHL scheduling. Washington, for example, guys, had a back-to-back, have 4 days off, then had another back-to-back, and play 7 games in the next 11 nights.
Wow.
It's not like with Ted Leonsis owning the team, it's not like the Capitals can – look, the Capitals could pull rank on the Washington – let's be honest. They could pull rank here. This is Leonsis. This is his baby. The Capitals are his baby. And that shouldn't happen with the NHL. I get with TV contracts, and they do have a couple games on NBCSN, I believe, in this span, but still, this is on scheduling more than anything. Do you really need a 5-day bye on top of it? Probably not. But they're going to do it anyway. It will create more instances where you have rested teams playing rested teams, which I get. That increases the entertainment of the product, so I do understand it in that sense. But there is a part of me that wants to see a team and how they respond playing their third game in 4 nights. It may be the sadomasochist in me, but hey, I love seeing this because sometimes you will get surprising results, like any time Ottawa plays Columbus and you're fully expecting Ottawa to win, and all of a sudden, oops, it doesn't happen. But that sort of thing. So you never do really know.
Yeah, excellent points. So what are 3 teams that have surprised you either way, success or failure? What 3 teams have surprised you the most this year?
Let's see. Most obvious. The Rangers have surprised me the most. It pains me. It really does. Ted, I know. I am surprised that they are actually able to win as many games playing an utterly unsustainable style of hockey. It's just for the fan, it has to be of other teams. It has to be just cringeworthy. For media, it has to just be. You just want to bang your head against the wall repeatedly. How do teams keep losing to this team? And yet it happens. I mean, for example, the biggest example of the Rangers I could give is the other night last week against Toronto. There is no way the Rangers win this game 99 times out of 100. But a puck goes off a defenseman in, and then a puck goes from center ice and in, and they win 4-3. They play St. Louis and score 6 goals somehow against the Jake Allen, who had a 266-minute shutout streak going in. Okay. Their shooting percentage is almost at 12%, guys. Their save percentage at 5-on-5 is over 950. There are numbers that just do not belong in the lexicon of hockey. Lundqvist's save percentage never been even at 930. There is going to be a correction at some point. That's one team. The other two teams, second has to be Boston, and it's not because of record. This is because this is a Boston team that's usually predicated on a pretty strong penalty kill and really crappy power plays. I mean, their power play, look, almost every original 6 team in the last 2 years has had a below-average power play. What happened in the summer with Boston that magically said, oh, we're just going to start scoring goals on the man advantage like it's just raining men, on a women's dating site? I mean, this is something just nuts. They're over 30% on the power play. It seems like every game I watch, they score at least one. It's a lot. Sure, it's a lot of fun to watch. But then there's the flip side. They can't kill a penalty if you put a gun to their head. I mean, they're around, say, 71, maybe 72% right now, give or take. That's 30th in the league. So they have the top-ranked power play and the worst penalty kill. The last time that happened was 25 years ago with the 1990 Edmonton Oilers.
Wow.
I mean, by the way, that team did go on to win a Stanley Cup, but that's because it was still in the high-scoring era of the NHL. So, right. I mean, if your power play is like 36%, who cares if your penalty kills around 70 at that point? I mean, you're getting 7-8 power play opportunities a game. If you score 3 power play goals a night, that's going to offset whatever you give up. Their penalty differential is not as high as the 1990 Oilers or even the late 80s Oilers. So that's a problem. Tuukka Rask has been horrendous in net too often. And it's scary that you could think of a timeshare with Jonas Gustafsson and Tuukka Rask, and now you actually can. So that's 2. Mm. The third one, you know what? I know it's not an immense surprise, but it has to be the Dallas Stars. I never thought this 2-headed goalie system was going to work there. And somehow Lindy Ruff has done something magical, a.k.a. the Buffalo Sabres of the 2006-2007 season. And this team's on fire. They're fun to watch. And then when they don't score, they still find ways to win, which is uncharacteristic. Did you even see any of this last year other than little bits and stretches? Probably not. Megan and Ben are both on pace for 100 points. John Klingberg is a potential Norris Trophy candidate. I'll just take the frickin' potential right off it right now. He is a Norris Trophy candidate. I mean, he's getting better defensively. He's a young kid. He's in his second year. What sophomore slump? And then you look at some of the role players, and you sit there. When you look at the Stars from top to bottom, guys, you go, okay, great top, really good top 6. Very good top defensive pairing. And after that, you just go, okay, 2 pretty good goalies, huh? And you do wonder at some point if the bottom's going to fall out a little bit. But it's not going to that much, it seems. They do have a workable system in place that seems to be excellent for them.
Yeah, sorry to jump in. It seems like one goalie, though, is playing much better than the other. Even late, I should say, we still have one prominent goalie and kind of go back to a more traditional look at it.
You know what? You kind of saw this, last couple of years in Anaheim, and then obviously Frederik Andersen took the reins. I wouldn't be shocked if this is, first year in this quote-unquote back and forth kind of go. I don't think you'll see a clear goalie until the playoffs with this team. And that's just fine. They don't seem to care. It works well for them. They're posting better numbers, and they're staying fresh, which is important. Look, Kari Lettonen's played a lot of hockey. People forget that in the old days, the Atlanta Thrashers, Kari Lettonen saw way more scoring chances and shots than any goalie should have. It was obscene. I mean, unfortunately, bean counters weren't as good then, but I mean, the wear and tear he took almost kind of made this a good idea. Now, look, Antti Niemi's kind of in the same boat. He can't play a ton of games either. So, for them, this is perfect. I mean, neither goalie really can play more than 50 games without losing their effectiveness. So, if you play, say, 45-37 split, which seems to be their plan or something close, then why not go with it? They're winning games. They're playing well. Of course, when they start losing, fans will question this, but that's fans' nature. So right now, why worry about it?
Good point.
So, hey, I have a question about the Canadians, Chris. Is it safe to say they've already clinched the playoff spot? And are they actually as good as their current record states they are?
They're another one. Maybe not as bad as the Rangers because, look, Carey Price is just that good. I watched it last night, and Carey Price did look rusty. And I talked to Dennis Gorman of the AP last night before the game. I'm sitting there on the train heading down to my fiance's. This is a true story. He sits there and goes, "There is no way that this game hits the over." And I'm like, if I had the money right now, I would bet you $1,000 right on the spot that this game, you see at least 6 goals in this game combined. And he's like, really? I was like, you have a rusty Carey Price, and Yaroslav Halak is completely hit or miss against the Canadians. Naturally, what happens is Halak gets yanked, Carey Price gives up 3, has some good moments, but also had some bad moments as well, where the Islanders could have easily had 5 or 6 goals last night. And that's rust. You expect that for a guy that's been off for a few weeks. And it goes to show you, yeah, there's some holes in this Montreal team still. Obviously, the way Michel Therrien has handled the Alexander Semin situation has not been ideal. You had to know that going in. Semin is a proud guy, and he doesn't like being treated the way he has been, especially with Carolina and now Montreal. Therrien is one of the most stubborn individuals you will ever meet in life, never mind in hockey. So you almost had to expect this. And yet they're still winning anyway. Dale Weiss has 9 goals, guys. Okay? He has 3 times the amount of goals as Sidney Crosby. I mean, at one point he had as many or more goals than Alex Ovechkin. Just try to wrap your head around that one for just even half a millisecond, and you realize, oh God, what have we done? But it's not the scary part with Weiss is it's not a fluke. Weiss had this knack of scoring in junior that people forget. Can he do it over the course of an entire season? Probably not, but if you give the guy enough playing time, he probably could score 20 to 25 goals. If he gets you 15 assists or so, that's darn close to a 40-point season for a guy that's playing bottom 6 minutes. I would say that's really good. So they have that. The Torrey Mitchell injury may be significant because that Fleischman, the line with Fleischman, him and Weiss were excellent. Teams had a tough time playing them. They really didn't have much of an answer for them. And Weiss could annoy a goalie. You don't find many fourth lines of that, in hockey like that. It's basically like a handful each year. Maybe 2, 3 tops, that are just dominant bottom 6 units. And that buoyed a lot of Montreal scoring early. So if you combine that with the fact that you have a very good top line in Montreal and you have a pretty good second line, it's not a surprise at all. People have to say, okay, yeah, some of their advanced stats numbers are completely unsustainable. You can just sit there and go, okay, they're going to drop here. But with Carey Price in that, they're not going to drop that much because he's capable of producing a season with a save percentage of .930, .935, maybe even .940. Whereas Henrik Lundqvist is not, based on the system he plays and the amount of chances that the Rangers give up. The Rangers give up so many more chances. They're 26th in the league as far as high danger scoring chances allowed. You know, they're basically the fifth worst. Montreal is about 19th, so it's a little bit better. And that's why the Habs, it's a little more sustainable at least.
So I guess the question is that's the bane of my existence, and to every Long Islander, will the Islanders' move to Brooklyn be a good one long term?
It's the question that everybody asks, and it's the answer there's no real answer for. It really is. Short term, it's not. I mean, I know lots of people that have flat out said, I will not go to an arena with a crooked scoreboard and a freaking car in the back. It's just there's too, as one person said to me, there's just too many odd things going on with that arena. And I think the other one that was kind of funny by a press member, it looks like I'm playing in the Rusty Chum Bucket. I mean, if I started whistling the theme to the SpongeBob SquarePants song, it would be appropriate right now. But all kidding aside, the arena itself is not that bad. I mean, but it's one of those things where between the obstructed view and the score, visually, it's something to get used to. And I think that's a problem for the casual fan. It always is. You're looking for a product that, things are in symmetry, et cetera. Even the seats are not exactly symmetrical, Ted.
Wow.
I can attest to this because I've done a couple arena tours there. And you just sit there and go, I mean, part of the one press box is obstructed because of the way they set it up.
God.
Who thought about this, while making this? And, it's unfortunate, but I do think I don't know if they can sustain long term because Long Islanders a lot of them are really diehard about not going there. And that does concern me.
Totally. Chris, I got to jump in here and tell you, I get a call every other week from their ticket office asking me about, hey, are you buying your 10-pack or you buying your 5-pack for this year? No, I'm not. Will I go there once this season? Yes, I will. But adamant about it. But, I mean, you made some good points earlier on when you were talking about the numbers and the first 11 games of the season and versus what the Islanders did last season overall with attendance. I mean, it's an upgraded product, and hockey doesn't start the first 11 games of the season. A casual fan doesn't show up because there's been times in the previous years I was in Nassau Coliseum, and you could pick your seat during the weeknight.
Yep, they used to call it the Tuesday night move down. Start up at 300 level, slide on down. By the end of the game, you were almost right at center ice.
Well, Chris, it's been fantastic having you on the show. You're always a great guest, extremely informative about hockey. So, again, thank you for being on. Will you let people know where you can be found in the greater universe that we live in?
The thing called the internet or the light web, and not to be confused with the dark web where certain organizations like to hide. Folks, you can find me, as always. My Twitter handle is Chris Wassel, DFS. You can find me on Dauber Hockey with my weekly Saturday morning I call it the Saturday Night Special column. You can also find me on today's Slapshot talking about a variety of topics like whether the Rangers are actually sustainable on this planet and many others. You can also find me over at thefakehockey.com, espousing good old-fashioned daily fantasy hockey advice. Obviously, Fantasy Hockey X, our weekly Tuesday night show, which is not like any other because we actually laugh at our own misery. You know, we're losing money potentially here, and we can still laugh about this, which is great. And of course, a bunch of other sites that never seem to get time and et cetera. But I'll soon be writing for the Hockey Guys and Curve. And by the way, something I do want people to check out. There's a lot of fantasy hockey and hockey experts on a relatively new app called Sway. That's 2 Y's, guys. SWAYY. You can find it on your iPhone. I highly recommend it. You can vote in polls. There's a lot of commentary. You'll find some of the best and brightest in the fantasy hockey landscape. Pete Jensen, Neil Parker, Rob Mayen, myself, and others. And it's a fun experience. A lot of good debate, and you can search for pretty pictures of players or potentially incriminating ones as well. As I found out, apparently, if you search on their site for Patrick Kane pictures, you get some pretty bad ones.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's some bad ones. But look, it's an app that absolutely has to get a little more press, and it has been on Shark Tank. So. Interestingly enough, so go check it out and check me out there. And as always, it's a pleasure to be on with you guys.
Well, thank you, and enjoy your Saturday and enjoy your weekend, and hopefully hockey will go well today. So, and we will of course have you on again if you can make it during the hockey season. So, thanks very much.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you. So, Ted, hopefully you are there, Ted. And,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, we're never really sure with Blog Talk Radio today. So we just have actually we're a little bit over time, but I want to ask you real fast. First of all, have you already rushed out and bought Adele's newest release, 25? And did you watch the Ronda Rousey fight last week? And even if you did or didn't, what did you think about her loss? And sub-question, Holly Holm, excellent fighter. Honestly, I prefer the fights, but when you market people, a lot of times it comes down to attractiveness. I'm not in charge of that. Holm, just on the surface. No, seriously, this is a question. But because MMA has gotten a lot of pub over the fact that Rousey's an attractive female, right? That's got to be part of the selling point. Holm maybe not as attractive. So is MMA upset in any way that maybe she's not, and it's that selling point is gone a little bit?
Of course. Come on. I mean, all right, so where do we start? We start with supporting our artists. I'm sending out a tweet right now, into the...
that did not tag me in it. I never get tagged.
I tagged you in it directly from the Baseball Beer and BBQ Twitter handle. And what do you see? You see a picture of 2 artists, Jadakiss and Adele. Both of them I purchased yesterday. Why? Because you got to support your artists out there because, come on. How much illegal downloading can you do? How much illegal streaming can you do? It all comes down to support these guys, love Adele, love Jadakiss, and I'm going to support them. In regards to Ronda Rousey losing to Holly Holm, let's talk about that level of hate that's out there for Ronda Rousey ever since she got knocked out. Mm-hmm. Everyone has just been chiming in, saying, maybe she went Hollywood. We knew she went Hollywood. She wasn't going to be there for the next 6 months anyway. So, rightfully so, filming Roadhouse, the reboot to Roadhouse. Holly Holm, everyone talking about, yes, the selling point was Rousey was Rousey. She was tough. She was easy on the eyes. She's being photographed in these swimsuit magazines. So, yeah, was it a selling point? Of course. Is she a future WWE diva? Probably. Holly Holmes isn't easy on the eyes. I don't know. But boy, Rousey got laid out last week. I'll tell you that much. UFC has some problems on their hands, and maybe they do go back to marketing. Her fighting skills. But they deserve the flack, and this is the stuff that Dana White wants because he wants to bring more, the spotlight on UFC.
And there's no such thing as bad press, right? No such thing as bad press.
No. Could you imagine if Baseball Beer and Barbecue had bad press? We would be loving it. You'd be in Tennessee,
That'd be the only
I'd
press
be in
we
New York.
had, but it'd be fantastic.
Todd would be in beautiful Miami, loving it up, watching the paparazzi chase behind us as we drive to work.
That's right. Oh, yeah, I'll say this. Obviously, Ted tweeted out the photo of the CDs that he bought. I retweeted it. Obviously, this show is now unofficially sponsored by Best Buy. But I'll say this, because that's where Ted bought the CDs. If you look closely at the photo. So, yeah, it's a shame, but it's funny that people, I love Ronda Rousey, and then after she loses, it's not even, to me, the attractiveness obviously is going to detract for MMA. I don't care either way, because a fight's a fight, and after a fight, nobody looks good, really. But the fact is, the thing I was surprised by was that Rousey lost the fight, and then 80% of what I saw was, she was so full of herself anyway. And it's like, you guys loved her before the fight. What happened after? It's like, anyway, which reminds me, 2 weeks ago, the best fighter pound for pound on the planet fought. Nobody talked about it. Vasily Lomachenko, who's a boxer. He's had 6 fights now. The last two have quit on him. If anybody watched the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, he was in the undercard. Phenomenal fighter. So next time Lomachenko fights, maybe everybody should watch that and talk about Lomachenko and how, I don't know how he looks. Maybe he's a good-looking guy. I don't know. Maybe MMA, even though he doesn't fight there, could help boxing sell, because boxing needs some help selling their own products. So anyway, that's our show for today. Any final thoughts, Ted?
We got to get into, I guess, Jackass of the Day. Jared Fogle gets 15 years for pleading guilty to the charges of child pornography and crossing the state lines to pay for sex with minors. You know what? You really don't hear me say this much, but he's an effing asshole, okay?
Yes.
You know what? And he deserves everything he's going to get.
Yeah. I work with some people who are they don't listen to the show, but they look at things through skewed eyes sometimes. And one of the comments was, well, maybe one of the people was 17. Like, who
Oh my
cares?
God!
Who cares if they're 17? It's illegal. Jeez. This guy, man, wow. And the worst thing about it was what he did, but there's partly another thing that's really bad about the whole situation is his foundation. The guy that oversaw the foundation was involved as well. And it was like, wow, I feel like the whole thing was just some kind of weird scheme to, it's so sick. Anyway, that's.
Hey, I know we don't want to spend too much more time on this, but he said he had this sexual craving because of the diet.
Yes.
Oh my God! Can someone put him under a prison?
Oh, Subway will. Subway will spend as much money as they possibly can probably right now putting that guy under the prison. So yeah.
Hey, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Well, unlike Jared Fogle, we're not having sausage for the next 15 years. But for Thanksgiving, we're having. My wife is in a show. She's in the musical version of Christmas Story, which was on Broadway and now is in regional theater. But she has a show that evening, so we're actually having Thanksgiving dinner. I guess call it dinner. It's not really dinner. early at 1 p.m. On Thanksgiving. But we'll have her parents and then my mom and a couple of my daughters over. So it'll be good. It'll be short and early, and then I can relax the rest of it because I'm off. Oh, you're off all week, though. Is that correct?
I am off all week. I said goodbye to my friends at my job yesterday. Really more like my colleagues.
The groundlings.
My only friends are Lee Vowell and Thomas J. Vandenberg, also known as the Unreal Todd. But no, I'm off all week, heading down to Prince George, Virginia, to have the entire family is going to Virginia all over because, as you guys might not know, that my brother-in-law was in a very serious motorcycle accident about 8 weeks ago, and he's yet to go to rehab, so the family is gathering there to support him and, hopefully give him that motivation. So we will be in Virginia. Will there be a show next week, next Saturday?
There's one scheduled.
Are you still going to be doing Black Friday shopping?
I don't do Black Friday. I don't do Black Friday. We do all our shopping online anyway. We don't ever go to the store anymore.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, so Prince George, that's near DC, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not far from DC. And so I'd say about maybe 5.5, 6 hour ride down there. Of course, my wife wants to leave Wednesday night when there's going to be 2 million drivers out there on the highways. And she's just like,
and that's just
hey, I want to let you know. And that's just in my neighborhood to get to the main boulevard. But I will be doing a special L&P on Monday. Want to mention this. We're going to do a 2-hour L&P. I haven't cleared this with management yet, but we're doing a midday L&P.
Is this a recorded show?
This is a live show.
Oh, because there is a live show scheduled on Monday.
Oh, there is. Oh, my goodness. I'm so glad I'm speaking with management about this.
Well, Todd's not here, but you're speaking with me.
Oh, my goodness. All right. I got to figure this out. Really quick. So, but either way, we're going to do a live show on Monday. We'll go to one of our satellite offices where we'll be talking about credit card scams, holidays. We're going to talk a little bit. I mean, a lot of the topics that are in today's headlines we're going to be talking about. And it should be a great show. But thank you for letting me know this because I guess my agent will talk to your agent and we'll figure this out.
Yeah. My agent always we try to schedule the guests like a couple weeks ahead of time because they're on the West Coast. So that's why we have to schedule. Our agent schedules the show on Mondays because it's weird because it's 4:00 out there. So the show they come on at 7. So that's why it's. Yeah. Anyway,
perfect. I'm so glad I mentioned this.
My agent tells me to mention is, of course, the Seahawks show, which seems to be doing pretty well on the Happy Hour Network. And this week, we will be talking to Keith Myers once again of 12th Man Fansided's 12th Man Rising. Last week we had on Jackson Bevins of Field Goals, and he was excellent. So anybody wants to check out the Seahawks show, last Monday the host, Kevin's fine. I was awful as always, but Jackson Bevins, fantastic guest, really truly fantastic guest. So people should check that out if you haven't already, because a lot of people look like they have. So thank you for listening to this show and that one. So LMP is, sad. I tuned in Wednesday. I was like, oh man, I got my popcorn ready. Like, you think I'm joking? I really did. I didn't know the show because I was like, yeah, the show's on. I was like, okay, my daughter's in bed, and there's oh man, there's no show. That's why I texted you. I was like, is there no LMP?
You did say that, and I was like, huh? We actually have one listener?
Yes, me. I listen when I can.
Oh my goodness! But yeah, we're gonna do a live show on Monday. And I will tweet out the number or the way to listen in and stuff like that.
And then you can just podcast it, right? I'm not selling the podcast, but I'm saying it can be live and then bam, it can be right up on Happy Hour.
Yep. Cool. We got it.
Sweet, and we love. It's funny. Todd's not on the show. When Todd is on the show, Todd's great. But when Todd and you and I are all on the shows are shorter. When it's just you and me, we go it's 4 hours. It's the
I know.
Wagner opera.
I'm telling you, this show right now can go an additional 45 minutes to go 2 hours.
We've left stuff out.
Say it again?
So we've already left stuff out. So anyway, okay, I guess we should end it with that because anyway, Ted, enjoy your week off. I have to work the first three days, but it's okay. And then Thanksgiving, and then hey, Go Hills playing at 12. Todd's actually going to be the reason he couldn't make it today. He's actually, I don't know if you know this, he is actually at the University of Miami, which lost to Carolina, playing Georgia Tech, which lost to Carolina. Today at 12, I think, is when they're playing. So he's actually there live at that game today. So that's why he couldn't make it today. So he's actually seeing a live sporting event, which is even better, which is fantastic. So.
Yes. Lee, I just want to let you know before we shut the show down, if you get that urge on Friday morning to stand online with a million other people at Walmart for those 7 LED TVs that are on sale for $99. Don't do it. You hear me? Do not do it. It's not worth it.
Wait, did you say they were $99? Well, I know what I'm doing Friday morning. Holy hell. Thank you for that advertisement. I had no idea. I could use another. That's awesome. I could use one from my bedroom. That's fantastic.
Hey,
Walmart, you
owe us a check.
Wait, and Best Buy. Let's not forget Best Buy.
And Best Buy, you guys owe us checks too, all right?
Jadakiss and Adele are $13.99 at Best Buy in New York. I don't know how much they are here. Because they regionalize that stuff, right? Like I could probably go to Best Buy. Did you really buy it for $13.99, the new Adele?
No. They had it on sale yesterday for $9.99.
Okay, that's better.
They were both on sale for $9.99.
Excellent. Alrighty, well, that is our show. Thanks to Adele for being... No, I'm just kidding. Thanks to Chris Wassel for being on and supplying. Hello, hopefully you can hear me. I hear a hum. It sounds like Ted's at the airport. Ted,
yes.
If you're at the airport, hopefully you can still hear me. But thanks to Chris Wassel for being on. Always
I'm
a
on the tarmac.
Always a fabulous...
I'm on the runway. I'll see you later. I'm out of here, guys.
Alrighty, have a good week. I should just mute you. That really could be like it. It won't mute you. Oh, it did mute you. That's it. Ted really is gone. Thanks for listening.
The fans hoping to catch a little bit of the old-time religion right here, baby. With Junior stepping up to the plate. Here comes the stretch. And the pitch to Junior on the way. Swing and a fly ball hits to deep right center field. That baby is going to be fly away. The old-time religion lives. Junior does it. A 2-run home run. And we are tied at 3-3. My, oh my. Magic is back at least for a night.
When you have more data, you have more freedom. Freedom to do whatever. That's why AT&T is offering you 15 gigabytes for the price of 10. That's 5 extra gigs for the same price. Because the more data you have, the more freedom you have. Freedom to share what matters with who matters, like videos, music, and gaming. AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Limited time offer. Must sign up for this new mobile share value plan available at select locations. Restrictions apply. Visit an AT&T store to learn more.
Big news! The new Sprint LTE Plus network is faster than Verizon and AT&T based on analysis of a recent study by Nielsen. And to celebrate, we're inviting you to join Sprint for the biggest offer in U.S. wireless history. Switch to Sprint and save 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile rates. Yep, you heard that right. No gimmicks, no tricks. You have Verizon 6 gig for $60, $30 with Sprint. And if you have 15 gigs for $100 from AT&T, 50 with Sprint. Even if you have T-Mobile's 10 gigs for $80, we'll give it to you for $40. And we won't force you to watch video in low def. Oh, and one more thing. We'll even pay your switching fees up to $650 per line so you can switch to the Sprint LTE Plus network today. Visit a Sprint store or sprint.com/save 50%.
Offer coverage not available everywhere for discounted phones. Excludes taxes, surcharges, roaming, and premium content. Subject to new line $36 activation fee. Credit valid port in. Plans may not be exact match. See website for eligible plans. Offer ends 1/7/16, savings through 1/8/18. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Contract valid via reward card requires online registration.